We can't drive a Volkswagen Bug and think that we're going to go as fast as a Lamborghini. Those two things don't happen. And I think that's a lot of times is we expect our outcomes from a part-time job to get us the results of a six-figure income. But we have to understand that sometimes you're not in the right vehicle, and you have to analyze, are you in the right vehicle for the outcomes that you want to create in your life?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 1 of the Dedication to Excellence podcast with Dustin and Eugene. You can follow me on Instagram at _Eugenius. And of course, like I said, I'm here with my business partner / good friend / digital marketing wizard, Dustin Reyna, which I don't know your handle, Dustin, but you could definitely bring that up.
At Dustin Reyna.
At Dustin Reyna. Perfect. Well, we're excited to bring you guys content that will not only inspire and motivate, but also give you concrete, actionable items for you to incorporate into your own lives and business. The guests we have on the show are going to be high-level people with a lot of expertise, so definitely stay tuned and pay close attention. Dustin, we did it, man. Episode 1. This was just an idea a few weeks ago. I know a lot of people talk about starting a podcast. I'm one of them, and it took you coming along to finally kick this into gear and make it happen. So how you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good. I'm glad we got someone as reputable, someone as successful, and it's going to give us a lot of insights like Billy to come in here on the first episode.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Let's jump right in. So as you mentioned, for this first episode, we do have the great Billy Anderson. Some background on Billy. Billy is a lifelong entrepreneur, and I'm blessed to consider him actually one of my closest friends. We go back like a decade now, Billy. I watched him fail in business. I've watched him build a multi-million-dollar business with GoFresh, which he's currently the CEO and co-founder of, along with his beautiful now wife. So congratulations again there, brother. But he's also a community organizer, having founded the Level Up Society. He's a business coach and overall just a badass human being. He also has a podcast that I was his first guest on, so I couldn't think of a better person to have as our first guest. And also, he'll take it easy on us as this is our first time doing this, so I'm sure we are going to screw some things up. And I know, Billy, you'll know how to roll with the punches. So with that, Billy, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to be your first guest, honored to be your first guest. You've always been my test subject on everything that I've launched, Eugene. So, it's just fitting that I'm your first go around on podcast.
It was definitely bound to come full circle. Absolutely, man. Excited. So I thought a fun way to do this is because I actually know you pretty well, Billy. I mean, like I said, we go way back. But Dustin here is just meeting you for the first time. And I know we kind of just had our little powwow there. So I was thinking, Dustin, you can go ahead and lead this interview with Billy. And then as I'm listening in and kind of hearing opportunities where I can interject and maybe ask you to dive deeper, knowing some of the behind the scenes stuff, if you will, Billy, we can elaborate there. So Dustin, man, I'll kick it off with you.
Awesome. Hey, Billy. Yeah, again, it's great to have you on here. I'm eager just to learn more in depth about your beginning to end success and failures today. But what I wanted to get started a little bit more is what makes you, just tell us a little bit about your childhood. Tell us, what led to your success, what elements in the process led to where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, thank you for having me, guys. Excited to be here. Excited to watch you guys launch this podcast. I think this is something that, especially knowing Eugene for as long as I have, I think he needs to be getting his voice out there more and sharing his wisdom and his knowledge. So I'm excited to see this and to be a listener of this podcast. But so my name is Billy Anderson. I have been a lifelong entrepreneur pretty much. I've always dabbled in something, lifelong hustler of some sorts. And I grew up in the Bay Area. I grew up in the suburbs, and I like to say I was almost like raised in the Beverly Hillbillies type family. My dad was a general contractor, and he built our house. But we moved to Danville when it was a cow town, and a lot of the area grew and became very successful. And a lot of people were extremely successful. Not saying my parents weren't successful, but my parents were right time, right place, kind of situation, and they positioned themselves to create a great fortune for themselves by buying property at the right time and developing up. But my dad was always a penny pincher and a saver. And so I got to learn to really how to learn work at an early age because my dad put me to work. And so working with my dad's construction company, got to work, hand to hand with my dad at like 7, 8, 9 years old, working with him. I got my first job at a donut shop at 9 years old. And that's where I really learned customer service. I had a phenomenal boss who is still a family friend of ours to this day that really taught me how to engage and connect with people. And so a lot of the fundamentals of who I am today were built in those first 12 years of my life, with running a donut shop from 9 to 12 years old. I literally opened and would close that store, and during the summertime. So
what kind of a situation was it where they trusted 9-year-olds to run a donut shop?
Yeah, so this was always the funniest part. So I mean, one, they were Cambodian, and I've been like 6'4" since I was like 10 years old. So they were like, "You're taller than us, anyways. You look old enough to work here, so it works. You're gonna work here." No, they had known me since before I was born. My dad actually helped them remodel that donut shop when they moved to from Cambodia to here, and they were instantaneously very good family friends of ours. So they got to see me from before I was born until the time that I was 9. Now, don't ever ask me to allow a 9-year-old to run a business, but maybe that speaks to the volumes of who I was at 9 years old.
That's all privilege, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Believe it or not, I actually had a friend that worked for me at the donut shop, so I was technically like managing at 9 years old. But yeah, so a lot of those habits still are with me. I train my staff still to this day on those same customer service fundamentals that owner of that donut shop taught me when I was young. Went on to, I was a high school athlete, went on to play in collegiate sports, and I was always a competitor. And so, once again, sports taught me how to compete. And so I learned how to work, I learned customer service, I learned how to compete. And that drove me at that winning personality. And then going on into college, ended up getting injured quite a few times, tore my groin twice, decided to retire and hang up the basketball trunks and, put those dreams of being in the NBA to rest finally. Right. There was a lot of reasons I wasn't going to the NBA, but, that's what I tell myself was I retired from the NBA. And then I ended up going on and working at a job for the city of San Ramon. And at that time, I was already working for the city of San Ramon. I had actually left the donut shop and started lifeguarding when I was 13 years old. I did swim instructor as well as a lifeguard. Ended up moving my way up into management, ended up running the facility by the time I was 18, ended up getting promoted into a full-time opportunity. This is when I decided to quit basketball and take this opportunity in this career of running facilities for the city of San Ramon. So I dealt with like Chevron, Toyota, very large companies, and did a lot of their rentals for their facilities for staff training and things like that. So I did that, and I ended up meeting somebody just like that. I think he worked in like the parks department, and he was like a camp counselor. We ended up kicking it, playing basketball together. That's where our friendship started bonding. And one day he goes, "Hey man, I need a ride to this meeting. One of my buddies says, like there's all these successful people, and like I need to go there, dude. I'm looking for this opportunity. Can you give me a ride?" And I was like, "No way am I giving you a ride somewhere. I'm not going to go take a look at this opportunity." Literally had no idea what I was walking into. Saw a phenomenal individual, killer entrepreneur by the name of Lauren Michaels, and she was there leading from the front, sharing this opportunity called Prepaid Legal at the time, now Legal Shield. And I was listening to these stories, and I was like, man, like if she can do it, and this is, little did I know about her, the how elite of a performer she was. But I thought, if this woman could do it, I can absolutely crush it. And I was not even like halfway through the presentation. I don't even know what she was talking about, because all I was thinking about is who I could sign up and who needed the services. And that's really where the true entrepreneurial journey started. A lot of the fundamentals, the building blocks were started before then. And I was always hustling prior to that, but that's where really the true entrepreneurial mindset was found, was developed there. Because I got taught a couple of things. I got taught consistency, planning, and most importantly, personal development. That was the thing that absolutely changed my life. I was introduced to a gentleman by the name of Jeff Olson and Jim Rohn, who I'm sure, knowing Eugene, Dustin, you've heard that name, both those names quite a few.
From Idaho, man.
I was like, probably listened to the Jim Rohn audio a few different times in Eugene's car. But yeah, that's really where everything started. I was going to school at that time for business management as well. And so I was already in that business mindset, and I knew the workplace wasn't really for me, but I was making such good money that it kind of like kept me there. But I was looking for that escape from the 9 to 5. And this just happened to be it. The only thing is I was about 19 or 20, and I was young and dumb, and plenty of stupidity. And so I decided to quit that job after 3 months, thinking that prepaid legal was the thing for me, thinking I had built all this success because I had this early momentum. And unfortunately, 4th month in the business, things slowed down a a lot for me, I should say. Yeah, like almost all. And that was my first real like hurdle that I had to overcome, was the financial drop off, where no longer did I have this safety and security of this 9 to 5. I had to now provide. If I didn't work, I didn't make money. And so it was a really big learning lesson for me. And I continued to hustle through prepaid legal, which I was then able to make connections with people like Eugene Johnson, also from Zyral, and many other amazing people. Continued to build a great network, which then I ended up leaving that and starting a company called East Bay Hookups, which was a computer technology company that we basically came into companies and did full computer and networking setups. After 6 months, I was sued by Foot Locker. And that's where life.
I've never heard that part of the story. You were sued by Foot Locker.
How have you never heard this story? You clearly didn't listen to my podcast with Eugene or with EJ.
Just get the highlights there.
Yeah. I did. To be fair, I did.
Yeah. So a lot of lessons learned there. I got the cease and desist letter and kind of ignored it because I didn't think that. I was like, what are you talking about? I didn't use my name for profitability reasons. This is bullshit. Me being young and dumb, thinking if you just ignored the mail, nothing happened. Do not do that with an attorney. First lesson I can tell you, when it has the letterhead of like something and something, yeah, do not ignore them. Send them something back. And so ended up the next letter, I got a certified piece of mail that demanded P&Ls and bank statements and basically everything. And it was a really invasive period of my life where I had to show everything, my personal and business income. And they determined that we were using their name for profitability reasons, took us to court, cost me a significant amount of money, all the money we had in the company. I ended up losing it all. That was my friends and family's money. Felt devastated, felt like a loser, felt like it was a failure. And all the success and everything that I thought I had earned was really built on the back of like quicksand. Like I built an empire on quicksand, and little did I know. But that was because I had a lack of personal development. While I was introduced to it, it wasn't something that was truly a part of my life. And that's really when personal development became something that was something that will never ever leave my life. And I started to build everything around the foundation of personal development. And so that's kind of my background. That's pretty much where it led up into GoFresh. There's so much more. I mean, I left out like a good chunk of my story, but that's like, we can get into questions, but that's pretty much where everything started. And I only say that because the mass amount of failures lead up to this moment where you kind of have a breaking point where you're like sick and tired of being sick and tired of failing, and sick and tired of mentally feeling like I was a bum, man. Like I was so hard on myself, but a lot of it was that I just lacked belief and lacked vision, lacked discipline. And so, yeah, that's why I say that really everything started there. And that's when the true foundation was laid, and everything's been built on top of that. So
that's a story and a half, man. That's great.
That's why I stopped there. There's still another half a story to go.
Hey, I'm eating it all up.
When we have you back on the podcast, we'll hear the other half.
Yeah.
So what, definitely in the downs and the dirts, when you lost, personal assets, you lost business assets, and you dove into personal development and that mindset, what kept you motivated during those times? Like what brought you out of the darkness there?
Yeah. So I'll share an experience. So there was, after failing all that, Eugene and I both had a mentor by the name of Mark Smith, and this gentleman was massively successful. He shared this story back in the day where he said when he was depressed, he used to go into his closet and cry. So I thought when you were depressed, you go in the closet and cry. So I was depressed. I was living with my ex-girlfriend. She would leave for work and I'd go in the closet and cry. And I did this every day. Like, I shit you not, this was my life. One day she's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're a bum. Like, you need to get some shit going in your life. So go get a job. So I ended up getting a job at In-N-Out Burger. Like, I had a college degree in business management. I thought that I was worthless. And so the only thing I could think of was like, I know some people at In-N-Out. Let me see if I can get a job there. And so I was able to get a job there, and knowing In-N-Out, you start at the bottom. And so there was one night about a year into it, and I was on the patio sweeping up just trash and stuff. It was like a Friday night. And there was this homeless gentleman who just got a free burger given to him by a customer. And he was eating this burger, and he was just telling me, he used to talk all the time out on the patio. And he was telling me about how horrible Modesto was, and what a trashy city, and the worst people. And then he finished his burger, threw his trash on the ground, and walked away. And there was something that signified there that like, you are your environment. Like you're either contributing to your environment or you're taking from your environment. And there was something that clicked there that was like, I have control over everything around me. And I think it wasn't so much what kept me motivated as what gave me freedom was truthfully realizing that I actually impact everything around my life. And there was something that was signified there. I can't even like break it down, but something about that visual experience, like just turned something on my brain. And I was like, wow, everything around me, I control, about whether it be emotionally, whether it be physically, like I control the shit around me and I can change the direction of my whole life through my actions. And so that's really it wasn't so much what kept me motivated as much as what gave me freedom. But I think if there was anything that like keeps you motivated, it's the vision of where you're going. And sometimes that vision is just not going back to where you've been. You know what I mean? Like, and just knowing that behind you, that rear view mirror is the only place you don't want to go. So if you can't go back, you got to go forward.
Yeah.
Billy, wasn't there also something that happened in and out that if I recall.
Yeah, right after that. Yeah. Talking about the college degree part?
What was that?
The college degree part?
No, I remember there was another defining moment in your in and out chapter of your life where where I'm going with this. Where somebody
I walked back inside. Like literally, this was all within like a 15-minute period. I walked back inside because when you're done sweeping outside, you got to go back inside. You do like patio duty. So I go back inside, and I still vividly remember this. It was a strawberry vanilla milkshake, so half strawberry, half vanilla. And I'm filling the strawberry part up, and this girl is behind me, and she's talking. She's like, "Man, like I can't wait to graduate. From college. I'm gonna make so much money when I have my degree." And I'm like, "Fuck, I have a degree." And I'm pouring fucking milkshakes. And it was just this like, it just further instilled that like, I have to change. Like if I want something different in my life, like it's not a piece of paper. It's not anything, any validation from anybody external. It's me changing my actions that will change my direction of my life. And that's,
I think those two situations. Example I was thinking of though was I seem to remember there was somebody who was so excited about like making whatever dollar amount. They're like, oh my God, I can do a lot with this.
Oh yeah. Well, there was a lot of that. Yeah. That they could live on $14 an hour. That was one of the big reasons why I left In-N-Out, in the sense of why I decided not to continue trying to become a store manager. Cause I did think I was going to become a store manager. I thought I was going to, cause they make great money. I have friends that are store managers that make a multiple 6-figure income. It's great. It's just a different type of lifestyle. But what I realized, the difference between like the Bay Area here in the Central Valley is complacency. I can raise a family on $14 here. And we had employees that were above me that had been there for a very long period of time that may not have, from a skill set standpoint, been better than me, but because they had been there longer, they could, they had seniority over opportunities that came along. But the problem is that you could be complacent there at $14, $15 an hour. And I was like, man, for me to overcome those complacent people, I've got to wait them out. And that was just something that I realized, like, I didn't want that lifestyle. That was just not a lifestyle for me, being able to raise a family at $14 or $15 an hour. And no knock on them. That's great that you can do that. But those were just like indicators for me to realize that my opportunity here was not where I wanted to be. I think the analogy that I can pull from that is really like, and I see this often with employees that, work for me or work in other companies. They get so frustrated with how much the job that they have and them not getting the outcomes that they want from in life. And I think, we can't drive a Volkswagen Bug and think that we're going to be that we're going to go as fast as a Lamborghini. Those two things don't happen. And I think that's a lot of times is we expect our outcomes from a part-time job to get us the results of a 6-figure income. But we have to understand that sometimes you're not in the right vehicle, and you have to analyze, are you in the right vehicle for the outcomes that you want to create in your life? And that's really what I realized with In-N-Out is, man, the lifestyle I wanted and the goals that I had for my life would never be achieved with the income levels that I was going to be held at with In-N-Out.
So maybe the conclusion here is In-N-Out. Great burgers, maybe not the best place to achieve every goal that you want. But
it's a great place to work in the food service industry. One of the best, has some of the greatest systems and processes that you can imagine from the food service standpoint. And that was one of the greatest things that I gained from there, is the systems and processes that I've been able to implement into my business because of that. So greatest year of paid internship that I could ever imagine.
Love it.
Great. So coming from, let's say, donut shop and In-N-Out Burger, it's a big shift from where you're at now. What brought you into the health and wellness industry? What brought you out of there? I know you've been fairly competitive with college and sports and swimming and everything. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So like you said, I was a collegiate athlete, and when I left college, I shouldn't say I left college because I finished college, but when I quit playing sports, there was like this void. And if you guys have ever been competitive, you just know, like, man, when you don't have like the weekend sports, that like drive to like just know that you're truly competing. I mean, like adult league, it's fun, but like it's just not the same. That pride of your school pride, those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'd gone on to do those other things, and I'd left. Let me see where did the shift come. I was always healthy, but I kind of got unhealthy because my dad was like an organic eater, juicer, like very, very like that like, man, like best quality food type dieting, right? Growing up. And so I didn't eat anything processed. I didn't eat sugars. I didn't eat any of that crap, right? So I ate none of that. So when I hit college, what did I do? I went out and ate everything that my dad told me not to eat. I remember like vividly, I got that Costco card and we were buying like the family size packages of like, what is it? Lucky Charms and everything else. Like I was like, I got to try all this. And so, but playing college, college sports, you burned all those calories off. And so when I quit college, that's when I got kind of skinny fat. And especially when I was in prepaid legal, man, I was eating McDonald's. I don't know what it was about McDonald's. Somehow or another, I found a McDonald's multiple times every day. But I started to eat all this bad food. And by the time I hit 24, 25, and I was in the solar company, I was like, man, I feel like crap. Like this, I vividly remember one morning I woke up and I remember looking in the mirror and like, just like bags under my eyes. Like I just felt lethargic. And I was like, man, I know I'm getting older, but like 25, like, come on now. Like, this is like a little too early. Like something's wrong. And I was drinking energy drinks, drinking coffee. I was doing all these things. And I just kind of got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was like, there's gotta be something. I gotta do something different. And so I got on my journey of trying to be healthier and just literally just trying. And I ended up, one night I was at a bar and I ended up running it. I mean, there was this girl that was just jacked. And I was like, all right, clearly you're a bodybuilder. Like, started talking to her. I was like, hey, like, like I'm trying to learn, like, do you know anybody? Like, and she's like, well, I actually happen to be a coach. And she was a professional figure competitor at the time, very talented, very knowledgeable. And so she started coaching me. And that's when I really got serious about competitive bodybuilding. I started to fall in love with the competition aspect. And that's what I was really missing, was just like, I need to work towards something. And so I got into that. I ended up meeting a coach by the name of Ariel Alberto, a very good friend of mine now. And he introduced me to food as fuel and really introduced me to the concept of that, like what you put into yourself is a science. And like, as you dial in that formula, like you can actually improve your performance and become like an elite performer from a physical outlook standpoint, from being a bodybuilder, or from a physical performance standpoint. Now, I obviously learned about how to look like perfect, but that led me down that path of like, because bodybuilding, unfortunately, is not the most healthy thing. Yeah. And while you look like you're in great shape, you're not necessarily always in the great shape. And so, but it planted the seed about proper nutrition. And Ariel was such a phenomenal teacher. And I think this is where we can inspire people to be teachers and to be passionate students, is how we teach. And Ariel was so passionate and took the time to invest in me and share with me knowledge. And when I asked questions, he invested in me. And that's really where I started to understand that food changes how you perform, how you think, how everything works for you. And so that's really where I fell in love with it. And I was like, I got to figure something out. Like, this is nowhere. Like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I need to get, I felt like I found like the freaking, like the magic pill, and I needed to share it with everybody. And so that's why we decided to launch GoFresh. And when we launched GoFresh, it was really just a concept for my fiance to do this on the side. And it was really kind of like, she was making me meals. A couple of my buddies were like, yo, I need some food. And I was like, hey, you can do this part-time. Like, why don't we launch this business? And then like 2 weeks later, I quickly grew to like 20 customers. And I was like, okay, this is a legitimate thing. Like, let's launch this into a real business. And that's really where it was. So it was always fueled by the passion of like, wow, I have this thing that I need to share with more people.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
If I may pick up the question here, now that we're talking about the phase where you actually launched GoFresh, maybe we can kind of get into some of the tactics here.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people who are going to be listening to this are going to be maybe kind of in a similar position as you, as they've been used to working jobs or working for somebody else and are finally getting around to maybe doing their own thing, or maybe they've had a couple false starts in business, but now they want to do it the right way. And I know, Billy, you had a few false starts in business, but now it looks like you've finally done something the right way. So can you maybe just walk us through the planning phase of setting up GoFresh? I know you said it kind of happened organically at first, but then when you really sat down and said, hey, we're going to make a real business out of this, like what does that look like day one when an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur says, yo, I'm about to build a skyscraper here?
100%. Yeah. So like I said, it was like kind of fell into our laps initially. And then when we were like, oh my gosh, like we're on to something, I happened to be on prep for my last bodybuilding show in Miami. So I think that was like a month into it, when I went out to Miami, and we kind of, the goal was like, okay, when we come back from Miami, like we're going to really take this serious. We had a facility we were moving into, everything like that. But we went to Miami, and I went and I saw somebody who actually ended up being on, Marcus Lemonis' show, The Prophet. And I saw this guy, and he had like a monster truck, and just everything he did was just obnoxious. And I was like, man, if this guy can do this and clearly be successful with his monster truck limousine thing he had, I could fucking crush this. And so what we did was we literally, like, I got off stage. I had at that moment had little to no interest in winning that bodybuilding show. I got my ass handed to me. I was at a very high level, and I was competing against like ex-NFL pro athletes. Like I was an athlete, but these guys were like next level. Like the guy that won my class was Brett Favre's like top receiver through Brett Favre's career. So this guy had like been like in amazing shape his whole fucking life. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I literally saw my opportunity, and I sat down, and we spent the rest of the weekend in Miami. Like I was in Miami, like a fun place. And all I could think about was creating the plan. And so we started, I think one of the most undervalued things is looking up competitors, looking up who's in this space, looking up what other people are currently doing. I think so many people want to like disrupt their competitors, but they have, especially in the beginning phases, like, oh, I want to undercut them. I want to do this. I want to do this. But, one of the things that I really noticed was price points, because I didn't really know how to price food. I hadn't had that experience. And so I looked at what kind of the market value of the food was, and was like, all right, how can I be competitive in this space? I looked at like, are people offering huge varieties? Like what are people kind of like across the board doing? And started to build my plan around some of the things that other people were doing in the industry. Because you don't always have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to do it a little bit better. And so that I think was one of the best things that kind of prevented me from making as many mistakes in the beginning, which I made a ton. But some of the early things that I think I did very well at was our menu development, because I didn't go really, really wide, which is one of the biggest mistakes that my coaching clients do in food service. Is they always want to offer everything. I've got something for everybody on the menu. But one of the things I learned really quickly was you can't build a big business by speaking to everybody. You build a big business by going very narrow and building deep with them and then going wide. And so we became very successful with the category of a fitness competitor, high level athlete. And we really focused on them, and everything around our system was dialed in for the competitor. Not just bodybuilder, but CrossFit was really huge at that time. Spartan races. We worked with Nick and Nate Diaz, Joe Schillings, some very high level UFC and Bellator fighters. These were all within the first couple months of us launching our business. We worked with Jay Cutler, one of the most famous bodybuilders. Like we worked with that category of customer. And so our whole plan was around attacking that customer. And so our menu, our products, our marketing was all designed around that customer. So that's really our plan, I guess.
And you rode that to, hope you don't mind me sharing, but over 7 figures in revenue that first year, if I remember correctly.
Yes, that is correct. Yep. So technically it was our first full year, start to finish. So it led into, that was about a month and a half before we started our road to 7 figures. And I had while I worked at a donut shop, 9 to 12 years old, right? Little to no learning that I learned there, and in and out. yeah, I learned systems and processes, but understand like I had little to no experience in the food service industry. In that year of us doing seven figures, we were working out of a catering center. So it wasn't our own facility. Every day we would have to take everything out of these big lockers, roll them down the hall, set them up. So it was an hour of setup, an hour of takedown. All while I was trying to open our first restaurant, which let me tell you was literally the worst experience ever. I had no experience. I took over the wrong building. I didn't understand plumbing. I mean, I understand plumbing, but I didn't understand plumbing for a restaurant. I didn't understand electrical for a restaurant. We ended up spending like literally over $100,000 extra because I didn't understand what I was doing. So as much as it sounds like Eugene made it sound great that I just did seven figures my first year, let me tell you, I was lighting all that seven figures on fire while I was figuring it out.
How did you, because I know one of the big hurdles, of course, for starting a business is initial capital. How did you go about raising the capital to start a business? Did you have money set aside from previous jobs, or what was your financial, financial pieces looking like when you came into the business, and how did you leverage those?
Yeah, so starting out, we did have $50,000 capital. That was from previous ventures that I had, and so that was like our initial investment. Honestly, I mean, I'm sure I spent well more than that on the initial, but that was like the get go, right? Blew through that very quickly. And now while we were doing that, we were making good money that first year. So it was able to kind of like go right back into the business and pay for it. So thank God we were working while dealing with these problems. But I won't lie, we came down to the finish line. I think it was November, like mid-November of 2015. We were literally like, I could see the end of the finish line. It was like right there, but we didn't have the money to get there. And I had to do something very difficult. I had to go out and get a hard money loan. And I do not advise doing this. But like, I had to do what I had to do. Like it was either, go and take this very aggressive hard money loan where it was daily withdrawals out of my account at like 30-something% interest, like insane. Yeah. Like, I mean, like anybody listening to this, I'm sure is going to be like, you fucking moron. But like, I mean, I had to do what I had to do. You know what I mean? Like, it was either like pay that 36% interest or lose over $100,000 in money we had already put into this building and into our business, because if we didn't get over that hurdle, we were going to more than likely have to let that building go. Mm-hmm. And so if I let that building go, I personally guaranteed that we would complete that lease. And if I let that go, I'm getting sued, not just the business, but I'm getting sued. And so, we wouldn't even be here talking about GoFresh right now if it wasn't for making that decision. So, while it was difficult, I think it's one of those things that you have to do whatever it takes before you ever do a hard money loan. I think, the one bit of advice I could say about that is exhaust all your resources, sell what you can. I mean, I liquidated so much stuff in that year. I mean, I sold sports cards. Which were not what they're at right now. So I probably lost tons of money. I sold TVs. I mean, I sold my cars. I literally got down to basically I had nothing left but like my clothes and the personal, memories that I wanted to keep. But like everything else that I could sell, I sold because I had to get through this. I was bound and determined. I was doing personal training on the side. I was doing literally whatever it could take to get through this period, all while running a seven-figure business,
Yep, that's the grind part of it right there. So throughout this process in getting that first building and stuff, did you have any employees at that time?
Yeah, so we actually took over our first employee pretty quickly. We were actually still in my house when we took over our first employee. So we had originally launched this, like I said, it just kind of fell into our lap. So we launched out of my house for the first 2.5 months. We were in my house for about 2 weeks post that Miami trip before we moved into this catering center. And so those last 2 weeks, I knew, hey, we're getting busier. I need to bring somebody on. So our first 2 employees were actually my very good friend that I had worked with at In-N-Out Burger. He was a phenomenal worker, somebody that I knew I could trust, had that work ethic, the discipline. He was a UFC fighter, so he understood the importance of eating, eating great food. And then it was my now sister-in-law, my wife's sister, which funny enough, they actually ended up having 2 children and are now married too. So, GoFresh is a little bit of a matchmaker as well. So yeah, those were our first 2 employees. But then our first actual employee that we didn't know was about a month later when we moved into that new catering center, and that was a learning lesson. That was definitely the beginning of a chapter of employee history.
And now you're gonna have to elaborate on that because you can't just do that cliffhanger.
It was just learning. I think it was the first employee that I could get mad at. It was the first employee I could get I could be frustrated with, and it taught me a lot of lessons. While he was not the greatest employee, it taught me leadership. It taught me communication. It taught me that it's just business. It's not personal. So, for example, day one, we hire him. I treated him like he was a homie. There was no structure. There was no description of his job. There was no, this is what you do. Welcome to the team. There was no core commitments. There was no real foundation laid. And so what I've really learned is that clarity brings confidence. And so the clearer you can be with your new team member, the more confident they can be about the opportunity that they have and the opportunities that are ahead of them. And so I learned a lot about painting the vision and building that culture that you want in your organization from day one. Additionally, the last day that he worked for us, he lied to me and told me that he was at the dentist, but he had posted on his Snapchat, something, I can't remember what at the time, what story it was, but he had posted on his story, he'd blocked me, but forgot to block my buddy that was working for me at the time. And he had posted that he went to a job interview. Let me tell you, the level of anger I had was just like through the fucking roof. I was so pissed. But it wasn't that he was doing it to me. It was just that he saw another opportunity that was better for him. And I had to learn to not get emotionally attached to that, because what happened because of that is I got so emotionally attached to him getting another job that I was more focused on that than I was on replacing him and developing the next person and continuing to foster the organization. And so there was a lot of really great learning lessons that I had through that first employee. But really just about the fundamentals of developing a great team, laying the foundation for the culture and the direction that you have for the team member.
Yeah. Which you definitely have done a solid job of, man. I mean, I know that's something you and I definitely bond over is leadership. I've watched you blossom into an amazing leader over the years.
Thank you.
When I first met you, when you were speaking on stage, I thought this guy's an amazing leader, but just the leaps and bounds you've traveled even since then over the last 10 years, man, it's been beautiful to watch. And, the telltale sign that you've been effective at leading and building systems is you've been able to go from one location to now multiple locations, which I know there's that big gap between going from one to even just two. I've heard it said that it's harder to go from 2 to 10 than it is to go from 1 to 2. I don't know how much truth there is in that, but what was that like, traveling from just having one location to multiple locations in that process?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when everybody's under one house, it's so much easier to manage. When you walk in and every employee that works for you is right there, it's so easy to say, hey guys, we're doing this now, we're doing that. And so the ability to be able to course correct is so much easier. And so it was a really big learning lesson for me to understand communication, to understand, once again, clarity of direction for leadership. And that was probably my biggest lessons that I learned was just how to properly communicate to the team members, how to set a system of accountability. And really the challenge was building layers of leaders. Mm-hmm. There's a shift. I don't know if it's necessarily the number of employees as much as it's the number of leaders that makes it difficult, because going from 1 or 2 employees to 10 employees is not nearly as difficult as it is from going one leader, or from you being the only leader to adding a leader and having to lead a leader. Because the types of conversations I have with you as my leader is different than I have with you as my employee. Because now I have to teach you how to inspire people, how to communicate with people, how to create clarity for employees, how to transition that culture, how to be an extension of our company vision for the company. And it's a shift for them to go from an employee to a leader mindset as well. And so that was a huge lesson learned of just developing leaders. And so that really forced me to create systems, having regular meetings and setting a regular check-in with them so that we can create consistency of, hey, how did this week go? what do we need to work on? How can we get better? And so I really had to force communication. And one of the biggest things I think I had to realize was trusting your gut, and that when something's coming, and really not allowing leaders to fail, but allowing them enough slack that they can get burned a little bit, but being aware to what's going on in the organization. So one thing that was really big for me is for leaders, often when they go from being an employee to a leader, they often don't know how to become a leader. So you have to really focus on training them and speaking to them differently. So that's why I had to create one-on-ones. But additionally, they have to make sure they're checking in with their team. Mm-hmm. And when you start to separate and become a layer, or a leader of leaders, you have to give them that freedom to check in with those employees. So you can't always be checking in with their team. Otherwise, you cut them out. And then they're just they're more of a manager than they are a leader. And I wanted to develop leaders. And so I had to give them the freedom, but I had to then go in, hey, you haven't checked in with so-and-so. Did you see last week, they made these comments, or, hey, this happened last week. Have you sat down with this person? And just catching those red flags and working with those leaders on how to acknowledge red flags, how to communicate issues. Because more often than not, I think one of the biggest things as a young leader is knowing that your instincts are right when there's something wrong, and developing that pattern recognition of hey, that's not right. This is how we correct that. Or, hey, when I see this, more than likely this is going to happen. And so just really working with them on acknowledging certain elements of the business. So that was really the toughest part of opening stores, was really me shifting my mindset from being just the leader to now being a leader of leaders. And so it's very difficult, because now you have to become a delegator. You no longer can be the bottleneck, because I think when you're in one location, you can be the bottleneck so easily for your organization, but you don't notice it. And then when you start to develop multiple locations, the only way you can scale is by delegating. And so once I think my biggest, if I had to go back and say one mistake that I made in that period, was not giving clear direction of what the leader's role was. And so throughout the process of every layer that I grew in, or every level that I grew in business, it was always going back to the level of clarity that I gave to the team member. So even now at this layer that we've got 5 layers of leaders in our organization, between me and our new employee, we've had to continue to really get clear with exactly what you do and what it is that your team members do, so that everybody has clarity of who to communicate to, who to talk, who does this, who does that. And the clearer you can be as a leader to your organization, the greater your organization will perform. So I think that's the number one thing that through the layers that I've noticed, is you have to focus on investing into the clarity of direction that you're taking your leaders.
Because clarity builds confidence. I like that.
Boom.
That's great. So with the training and development evolution from one employee to multiple employees to training those leaders and going through there, what types of other systems and processes, both technical and hiring on employees and training and developing, really helped you along the way to get to where you are right now?
I think a couple of things. One, bringing in people like Eugene. I've had Eugene come in and speak a couple of different times. I've had other leaders come in and speak. A couple of things come from that. One, it's no longer the same voice talking, but two, it just creates a level of validation for you, because one, especially Eugene, he's so great at edifying somebody that he's speaking with. So then he edifies the leader, the opportunity. I loved when Eugene came in last night. It's been a little while since he's been in. We shared the opportunity, the direction that I know we do. Now that you're back in NorCal, we got to bring you in. But the direction that we're going, because Eugene knows my vision, but it's not me sharing the vision. So it was once again another great leader that I edified. So it created validation for him. Then he went and created validation for me and the vision, the opportunity, everything. So really bringing people in, not being the only one. So that's one thing. Two, the toughest thing is getting buy-in on implementation of systems. So it's consistency. The number one thing is you have to be consistent, before anything can happen in your organization, you've got to be consistent. So leveraging tools, all that kind of stuff is great. But if you're not willing to be consistent and to like consistently stay up on people like, yo, hey, we got to do this. We got to do this. We got to do this. You got to do this. Finally, you get that breakthrough. But it's that one time that you didn't say, hey, we got to do this, that they slipped, and then you never can get back. So it takes time and it takes consistency, and you have to continue to say the same thing over and over and over. And you might sound like a broken record, but that's one of the biggest things. We just implemented a project management tool called Asana, and I tried Slack. I tried so many different other opportunities, right? And not saying that Asana is better than Slack or vice versa, right? It was just the thing that I stayed most consistent on. And I continuously put systems and processes in place to make sure my team was utilizing it. And so whether it be, I had to use Google Calendars to send reminders to my team to make sure that they checked Asana because I had already got them utilizing Google Calendars. So, it's kind of like habit stacking. Like if you already have momentum going, with some habits, just continue to develop on top of there. Don't develop new habits and go in another direction. So for me, it was like, okay, we're already utilizing this tool. Let's add another tool on top and like keep drilling it. Okay, cool. We broke through Asana. Now what's next? And the more we can develop the stacking of habits, that's really where it is. But the most important thing is your consistency, because it doesn't matter what you tell your people. It matters what you're willing to continuously put into the system and continue to implement. So because I can tell my employees we need to do this, but if I'm not constantly using it and I'm not constantly holding them accountable. So I have like weekly check-ins with every one of my leaders that I work frontline with me. And the first thing is like, okay, so where are we at with our Asana project list? Like, all right, what are you working on this week? What are you not? Oh, you didn't put that on the task list. Let's put that on there. And so every project gets put on there, but you have to be very intentional with the words that you're speaking and with your actions. So
what kind of different organizations do you have within GoFresh? Like, for example, I'm thinking of, coming from a tech background, we have our product team, we have our sales team, and we have our operations team, primarily our three silos. Of course, every business is going to touch upon all pieces, but what have you actually created processes around? I know your marketing game is solid, so maybe you can speak about just the marketing. I'm just curious how exactly GoFresh is structured.
Yeah, so we're structured in pretty much three silos. So we've got our marketing side, and this is more recently, marketing, operations, and then retail. So our retail is our stores, operations is culinary and production, which is the packaging department, and then obviously our marketing department as well.
Talk to us about some marketing, man. I mean, what are some of your secret GoFresh sauces there? Because every time I'm around you, bro, I see what you're doing with how everything is just, it seems, at least from the outside looking in, who knows about the shit show that happens internally, but from the outside looking in, it's like a very well-oiled machine. You have great communication with your clients. You're very effective at pushing promos. You have it looks like buy-in from your team as far as they're posting on your Instagram. I watch you and I'm just in awe, dude, because I'm like, yo, Billy created some sort of machine here. I'd love to hear you just give some thoughts on marketing.
Yeah. So, marketing has been something that we've been doing. I don't know what I'm doing in the early day. I still don't know what I'm doing, but I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning. But I saw this thing as far as Instagram, and I was like, man, I think there's a lot of opportunity here. We got to get the word out. And the number one thing that I've always done is just take action. And now granted, it's easy for me to say that now, and people will judge me based upon my comments now, because we have a full-time, marketing manager, and we have 3 videographers. We've got a squad. Yeah, it's easy for me to say, it's easy to create content now. But back in the day, I used to have this little connected wired mic that we used to go to my iPhone, and I still have this rinky-dink somewhere around here, rinky-dink tripod. That's it literally weighs a pound. It'll blow over with any gust of wind. And I used to prop it up outside of GoFresh, and I was like, hey, it's Billy from GoFresh. And people used to always comment on all of our ads and be like, is that Billy Mays? Like the OxyClean guy? Because I sounded just like, I was like, hey, it's Billy Anderson from GoFresh. And I was just hyped, right? And I just shared our company. And now, granted, some of these marketing tactics may not work as effectively now as they did back then. But the number one thing is take action. Just get the word out. So I've always been very consistent on just spreading the word. In the beginning, that's what it started out as. It was me just popping up the camera. Then it eventually became that we brought on a marketing team or a videographer to start shooting that content for us. And we just continuously developed off of that. But the number one thing is just stay active. We created a plan of attack, and every week we've continued to push off that. So, our fundamental is at the minimum, a weekly newsletter, right? I think everybody can do this. This is was our formula in the beginning, was a weekly newsletter and a daily post. And obviously Instagram's, the format's changed a little bit. Now there's Instagram story, IGTV, all these different elements. There's other social medias, but we really focused on just getting consistent with one habit. And we was in the newsletters and Instagram posts every single day. Now our game has changed a little bit. Now we're putting out multiple emails, different things like that. But like in the beginning, it's about creating consistency. So often people are not consistent. And this goes across leadership, marketing, every aspect of your business is about being consistent. Give yourself time to allow the momentum to build up. And so for us, it was organic posting for the longest time. Obviously, like I said, Instagram was a little bit different, but then it became ads. And our first couple ads didn't work. But we got better. We got better. And we improved, and we continuously plan, do, review. There was nothing that we ever allowed to just happen and us to say, guess it doesn't work. There was never a one-off attempt where it just didn't work. There was always a plan, do, review, plan, do, review, plan, do, review. We always beta tested everything for at least 60 days. There was nothing when it came to the marketing standpoint that we did or have continued to do that we don't give it time to cultivate. And I think that's why so often when I talk to clients and I'm like, are you running Facebook ads? And they're like, oh, I did it one time and didn't do any good. And you're like, you ran an ad for 4 days and like it didn't work. And I'm sure, Dustin, you deal with this type of,
everyone's looking for a faucet they can turn on and just let it go.
100%. But the first ad never, it might work, but it's never the right ad, right? Okay, so the first one works. Maybe the second one doesn't work. Like you're not going to hit it every time. But, developing that habit, especially if you don't have the money to invest into somebody like Dustin that runs digital marketing, like I didn't have the money. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do what I can do, which is be consistent. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you tell me you're not tech savvy. You can pop up this camera and you can record a video, or you can take a photo and you can put it out there. I can't stand when people are like, oh, I want to hire somebody. Like you're doing $100,000 in sales as a restaurant. Like you don't have the money to hire somebody. You need to do this yourself. And let me be very clear. Nobody is going to go ahead and like just create the content for you if you're not already creating the content. Like if you don't already have the habit of creating content, you hiring a photographer to take the photos is not going to help you create the right content, because now they're just going to be good looking bad content, because it's not the right content to speak to your audience. Our first videos were so ugly, so grainy and nasty. But I figured out what worked. I figured out that people liked my energy and they liked us talking about community, us talking about the convenience factor. I got to know my customer through my trial and error of the content I put out there. So that when I then brought on a full-time videographer, I was comfortable shooting the content already. I run across so many people that are like, oh man, I just need to hire a videographer. That's why I'm not doing well in marketing. I'm like, dude, you're not even comfortable popping your phone up in front of you. So if you're not comfortable doing this, you're certainly not comfortable with having a Canon camera shoved in your face. So it's about creating consistent actions that you're able to do. Eugene's not like posting every single day because he doesn't have a videographer. He's not posting every day because he's not going out there and shooting the content, plain and simple. Now, granted, if he had a photographer or videographer following him around, he may be more likely, but it's about creating the habit of being consistent with that action. That's what really develops those habits. So for us, it's always been about consistency. And then it's continue to scale from there. If I talk to you about my marketing strategy now, it would be just like over the top of the heads for everybody. But really in the beginning, it was always about creating the simple actions and giving it time to cultivate, because you can't figure out what works or what doesn't work in a one day or one post type of mindset. You have to allow it time to cultivate to figure out whether it works or not. So many people post on TikTok once and like, yeah, it didn't work, and they go viral. Like maybe that video was just shitty. Like I can't tell you how many people's content is just really bad. And it's like, and they keep putting out bad content and they're like, I don't know, maybe nobody wants my product. Well, maybe your content is not good. Maybe you need to do it in a different way. Maybe your voice is not good. Maybe you need to just focus on like a photo with written. Like you got to test things. Too often people go, it didn't work, so it must not work. No, that one just didn't work. Try something else and just continue. Plan, do, review, plan, do, review, plan, do, review. I think the term I like to use, intention. If your intended result is to make a sale and you didn't achieve it, then that means the actions that you took to achieve it weren't right. So then you have to just adjust it. It's just simply that. So yeah, that's pretty much was the foundation to our marketing, was really just getting consistent with something. And then just like I talked about earlier with processes, it's just stacking on top of that. So then we added Facebook ads. Then we added, like, I don't even know what, it was like Google AdWords, SEO. Like we started adding on from there. But, don't make it technical. Don't make it too technical. Just start with something and be consistent with that. And then if I would say anything is develop an email campaign or develop an email funnel, start grabbing those emails. This is one thing you own. That was probably my biggest mistake that I didn't start right off the bat, was grabbing emails. And then 2, get your website SEO, work with somebody to get your website SEO'd. Whether it be through Fiverr or working with somebody, like those are simple things that don't cost very much and just kind of get the foundation of your business. And the quicker you can get your website SEO'd, I think the better, just because it'll continue to work in your favor down the road. And same thing with email. The sooner you can start collecting emails, the better. And then just get, as far as creating content, just get consistent.
Yep.
Couldn't have said better. Right on for the call out, Billy. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't trying to say, hey, and by the way, I don't post every day, right? And that's it. Not every day works for everybody, right? And Eugene talked about this on the Level Up call last week. He was really focused on the activity. Now he's shifting his focus towards engagement, because he realized that the activity may have not resulted in the greatest high level engagement. So, like for him, he's been posting amazing content, but now he's got to look at how he can do it differently. And I love that he shared that, because he's been going through that activity phase. And so he got a great review period, and that he can actually go and look at that sample, that sample size and go, what worked here? What really vibrated with my audience and what didn't? Mm-hmm. And then go back and adjust. Maybe it's 3 times a week. For me, I found a vibration at like 3 to 5 posts that works crazy for me. I start to post over that, my engagement goes down. It's just, I haven't got as much of the likes, but I'm testing that once again, and I'm cranking it back up to 7 posts a week. And then using different platforms. But I think one of the most important things is tracking. Just start tracking yourself, start seeing what's working, what's not working. You can't just post and go, I didn't get enough likes. What determines marketing is working?
Number one thing I find is anyone that's saying, I tried it and it didn't work, they didn't even open the insights.
No,
they're not looking at data. They're you
they
build it and they will come,
or something like that. What was your goal with it? I think so often we just throw money at marketing, and we're like, we want to be more successful, but what determines success? If you invest 100 into marketing and you make 5,000, or if you invest in 100 and you get 500, what determines success? And I think that's a very important thing for us to understand when we go into investing in anything. It's what is our intended outcome that we want to create? And what are we willing to invest in this? And what determines a level of success, especially when it comes from a marketing spend standpoint?
Yeah, be a couple steps ahead, have some contingencies. Yeah.
Because I think so people want to ask you, how much should I spend? I don't know. One, how much can you afford? It's I agree you should start with something, but don't kill yourself, And so if you invest $100, but you need to make 5,000, maybe that's not the best investment,
Yeah. But I don't know how your schedule looks, but I know we're getting kind of close. I do have some quick fire questions we can kind of just put out there.
We definitely need a part 2, by the way, because I have 100 follow-up questions right now. So
yep.
Maybe I just know how to use a coach.
Perfect. You told us a little bit about some mentors along the way. What I wanted to bring out of you is really just, is there really that one person you can call back to, I think, that made the pivotal switch in your head, besides the homeless person and the college kid, but anybody that really made a significant change in your life over the course of the last, decade?
Besides me.
Yeah, it's funny. Eugene pops to the front of my head. As far as a straight up mentor, I would have to say, I don't know him personally, but there's a lot of people that have come into my life and have absolutely changed the game. But John C. Maxwell has been an absolute game changer for me. Shout out to Eugene for flying me out to Ohio to go see him. But yeah, he really developed the fundamentals of personal development and leadership. Leadership is everything. And in every part of my life, whether it be leading my family, leading my community, leading my business, whatever, leading my own self. I really have learned so much from him. And it's funny that Eugene talks about leadership, because I feel like I'm in that next phase of like where I'm going to grow as a leader. I actually just bought a new book from John C. Maxwell that I'm pretty pumped up to read. And it's just like a constant evolution of leadership, growth. And the number one person I always look back to when I feel like I need that leadership, like shake up mentally, John C. Maxwell. But I got to give a shout out to Eugene, because Eugene probably, I would argue, is probably one of the most influential, impactful people that's been in my life over the course of the past 12 years. I didn't know Eugene that well back when I was in prepaid legal. I think we only met maybe once or twice, like a Super Saturday and that event. But one thing I'll say about Eugene is that he always continued to show up, like as a friend, like literally as a friend. When he had nothing to give, he gave his support, like in every venture. There was, I don't always remember from like knowing like that much about Eugene, but I always remember that this guy he brought energy, encouragement, and just support. Like even when I was, whatever I got into, there was like a DM from him that was like, yo, bro, I'm fired up for you to do this. Like it was just always about that support. And so when you're going through those tough times of working in and out and all those things, having friends like Eugene really are what push you through. And so I got to give a shout out to him, because when you asked that question, the first thing that popped in my head was Eugene. So, and it's not just because he's sitting in front of me.
No, I agree.
That's all we have. That's all we have.
Contest to that one.
Yeah.
Love you right back, bro. Love you right back.
On another thing is look into the future. What are you most excited about? I know you've got Level Up Society, you've got GoFresh. I'm sure you've got a big plan as we exit COVID times, kind of going into 2021. What are some of your goals and something you're really excited about to see in these endeavors?
Yeah, I'm most excited about just the shift in consumer habits. It's you can easily look at it as like, wow, this just changed the whole world. But when there's change, there's opportunity. And I'm so excited for the industries that are starting. I'm huge on Zyral and like what they've done with their self-service kiosk and their online ordering platform. Like, I think there's so many great opportunities in these next 6 to 12 months to reinvent either yourself, your business, and create opportunities in these emerging markets or emerging parts of your industry. And so for us, we're in the process of moving into a new facility that's just massive. And this will be our home production center for GoFresh. We have a partnership with Amazon launching in January. We'll be launching actually another restaurant concept out of our facility. So we're launching basically what's called a ghost kitchen facility. And Nice. This is an emerging part of our food service industry. And this was, really coined by the former founder or former CEO of Uber, Travis Kalanick. But, basically a restaurant-less kitchen and a restaurant-less or kitchen, what is it? Dining room-less kitchen, restaurant, whatever. I'm screwing up the term. But yeah, so we're going to be launching a Nashville fried chicken concept. That's kind of a fusion Hispanic Nashville fried chicken concept. It's called Fuego Birds. We're pretty excited about that. Okay. That would be, yeah, right? That I like that one. We're launching that January, early January. I'm really excited about that. I'm super fired up about the emerging food industry. I think food is this space it's so interesting. And I think food is no longer just flavor, but it's truly an experience. And so I'm excited to be able to move in this facility and be able to help incubate new food service concepts. We're in the talks with a couple of different companies of investing in them and bringing them into our incubator program that we're launching in this new facility. And so I'm just excited about the potential that's coming with, like I said, in all industries, the consumer habits changing, but especially the food service industry. I'm really fired up about that. So there's a lot that's going on. I mean, that's just one aspect. Level Up Society, we've got a lot of exciting things happening with the entrepreneurship game. We're launching a membership come January. We have some great events coming up. We have our masterminds that we just recently launched. We have a huge event that we're launching in Orange County in March. Just a lot of exciting things. So as far as excitement, man, just having great people around you that are talking about all these exciting things. Like I loved when I said consumer habits and both your faces like lit up. Like we're all excited about the same thing. You know what I mean? The shift opportunity in the markets, I think is absolutely huge. So I think our job, my one last thing on this. I think our job as entrepreneurs is to create opportunities. And so if we're not excited about the potential for the shifting in the markets, I think we're a failure to our communities and to the people around us, because I think that's our obligation to our communities to reinvigorate the economy after such a unfortunate situation that just happened. So I don't ever want entrepreneurs to feel bad for talking about opportunities, because I think that's our job, and that's what we need to be accountable for, is that we create opportunities here in our communities.
I don't think anybody's feeling angry at Amazon for their creation right now as they're getting everything delivered. So yeah, I mean, it's innovation, always keeping your finger on the pulse of where everything is moving. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that say, oh, we shouldn't talk about success. And I'm not talking about success. I'm thinking you need to be talking about how to go out and find opportunities, how to shift your perspective, how to think differently so that you can find those opportunities. And I think that's super important for us to be talking about as entrepreneurs right now, that we need to be excited, not scared, because I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are out there that are scared for the future and not knowing what's coming up. But I think that should be exciting, not fearful.
Exactly.
Hell yeah. Very cool, Billy. Well, I know, like we said, we just passed the hour here, and man, thank you so much for all the value you've brought. I mean, I'm sitting here, my mind's going 1,000 miles per hour right now. I'm like, oh, I need to remember that. I need to remember this. Like, the second we get off this call, I have 10 things I need to act on right now. And that's really what you were talking about earlier is, hey, at the end of the day, just take action and take imperfect action. And then from there, you will evolve the right habits and you'll optimize. So before we let you go, Billy, our signature way to close these podcast episodes is going to be with one final question, which I'll go ahead and send your way and let you bring us home here. But this is the Dedication to Excellence podcast. So Billy Anderson, what does it mean to you to live a life dedicated to excellence?
That's a powerful question.
That's why it's our last one.
Being a man of my word, because my word is my bond. And if I commit to something, whether it be writing it down on my to-do list, my goal list, whatever it is, whether I commit to you, I will achieve that. Whatever I put out in the universe, I will achieve. So a man of my word, because your word is your bond and your word is everything.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, Billy Anderson, again, thank you so much for your time. I hope everyone who listens to this enjoyed our first episode. Don't worry, it'll only get better from here, even though it's going to be hard to top this one, but that's going to be our aspiration. So with that, again, Billy, appreciate you. Dustin, thank you so much. And Billy, where can they find you? Where can they find you? Where can they stay connected? And how can they buy stuff from you? Because you offer a lot of amazing value that I want people to invest in.
I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me, Billy_GoFresh. You can find GoFresh at GoFresh, and the _Level Up Society for Level Up Society. Any one of those, all on Instagram. You can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Any one of those, I'm on them all. I'm growing on TikTok too. Trying one video a week. Getting consistent. But yeah, any one of those, connect with me. I also offer free 15-minute coaching calls. If you want to check out and see what my coaching program is and see if I can bring value to you and help you grow, you can click a link in my bio or visit my website, billygofresh.com.
Love it. Love it. Well, that's it, guys. Episode 1 in the books. Signing off. And again, if you're listening to this, go out there, be excellence, be the best version of yourself. And until next time, y'all enjoy the rest of your night. Peace.